I just sat through 2 hours of pure misery watching the Rise of Skywalker, so you don't have to. This movie was an absolute disgrace to Star Wars. This actually, I don't even think this was a Star Wars movie. This felt more like Harry Potter with we had Palpatine busy destroying an entire fleet with Force lightning. Like, since when have you been able to do that? Like, this completely ruins the whole concept of Force lightning. I mean, why did Palpatine build a Death Star when he could have just used Force lightning apparently to disable the entire Rebel fleet? It doesn't make sense. So it's just like completely the whole. This is a thing about the movie. It undermines so much. It undermines so much that has already been written. Undermines the Chosen One prophecy, undermines Anakin, undermines dying in Star Wars. Yeah, that's been undermined because we have this Force healing stuff, which is nonsense, by the way. I don't care whether it's in The Mandalorian or in this, it's nonsense. So, apparently, you can now use the Force to go and, anybody who has Force powers can just go and use the Force to heal anybody who is hurt or dead, and this creates so many plot holes throughout all of Star Wars, really. Like, every time somebody dies in Star Wars, that's just a giant plot hole now, because take for example when Qui-Gon Jinn was killed. Why didn't Obi-Wan just Force heal him? Why didn't Anakin just Force heal his mother? Why didn't everybody who ever saw somebody else die in Star Wars just Force heal the other person? So that creates that plot hole. It's ridiculous and it's really stupid. So let's try and talk about this movie in order, sort of. So we start off in the movie with Kylo Ren busy slaughtering a bunch of people, apparently to find a Sith Wayfinder thing so he can get to Palpatine on Exegol and just go and rampage, and go and kill Mr. Palpatine. And this is all, and the movie feels so rushed at the beginning, because after we see Kylo Ren killing those people, it immediately transitions to the rebels. We're just gonna call them the rebels because that's pretty much what they are. They're busy apparently trying to find some spy or receive some transmission from a spy who has confirmed that Palpatine is alive. And here's something really stupid. Fortnite. The video game Fortnite is now Star Wars canon, apparently, because there was literally an event, right before the movie got released, where Palpatine's message got broadcasted on Fortnite instead of in the movie. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are watching this movie don't actually play freaking Fortnite, because Fortnite is a video game that's primarily for kids and teens. And this is okay. It's also just why are you running a freaking... Why are you doing this? Why are you having something from a movie transmitted in a video game instead of the movie? It doesn't make sense at all. So then, yeah, that's pretty much the beginning of the movie. It's super rushed. They do this stupid thing called light speed skipping, I guess, where they just jump from planet to planet to avoid TIE fighters. It's it's really kind of stupid, because it just not necessarily the concept of it. It's just it rushes the movie so much, because they tried to jam so much crap into the movie. I lost track of how many freaking worlds we visited in this movie. It was honestly you cannot keep track. Literally 1 minute we were on one planet, another minute we were on another planet, and so on. So Then we jump to Rey, aka Mary Sue. She's apparently training. She's actually training to be a Jedi. So that's just one moment in the movie where J.J. Abrams is busy trying to fix one of Rian Johnson's screw ups. So she's floating in the air. She's just busy meditating, floating in the air, like super high up in the air, by the way. And the first thing I thought about this was like, wow, Mary Sue is at it again. And there's a bunch of rocks floating around her, and apparently she's trying to commune with the Jedi of the past. And this is so stupid because like the Jedi in the movie that you actually do get to hear the Jedi in the from other movies in this movie. Like you get to hear Anakin, Luke, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon, and a ton of other Jedi. By the way, it's very hard to distinguish which Jedi is which. So that's a bit of a problem. But what problem is I have with this is like, why don't the Jedi just appear as Force ghosts to her? I mean, like, because like in the original trilogy, when the Jedi appeared as Force ghosts, like they didn't like they would just appear at random, really, like whenever they felt like it, pretty much. But like now, according to J.J. Abrams, you have to like do something special to be able to get to talk to these Jedi. It's like, what the heck? Do you have any understanding of what was written before you? I mean, honestly. So then Kylo jumps to Exegol, and he finds Palpatine, and Palpatine wants Rey dead for some reason, because she's like the last of the Jedi or something. Even though apparently Leia is a Jedi, and by the way, Leia being a Jedi should have been we should have been informed of that in Episode 7, not in Episode 9, because this just creates so many plot holes. I'm not going to go into that. I don't have the time. So anyways. Kylo originally wanted to kill the Emperor, but he just decided to apparently work for the Emperor and go and try to find Rey. And this sets up the rest of the movie to be really bad, or like the rest, or like the next half of the movie or so to be super bad, because like it's so rushed. Everything is going. It's like you cannot digest at all what's going on. It's so hard to follow along. It has the plot of a video game, honestly. And I'm playing a video game right now, so I think I can say that. It's just like, I don't know, because like, so like they fight at least 3 times. Kylo and Rey fight at least 3 times. So the first fight is on this sand planet. It's like, can we go somewhere else that doesn't have sand? I mean, really. And so like Kylo, he attacks Rey. He's in a TIE fighter. He's just speeding towards Rey. It's like, why don't you bomb Rey from above? It's kind of a logical move that, I think everybody would think of, but no, he's not doing that. And Rey just jumps up over the TIE fighter and cuts the wing off. And then, like, the TIE fighter falls apart and blows up pretty much. And then out of the TIE fighter emerges Kylo Ren, and he's perfectly unscathed or unharmed and anything like that. And then there's a transport that's escaping, an Imperial transport, or First Order transport technically, escaping. And it apparently has Chewie as a prisoner in it, and Rey uses the Force to hold the ship, and then Kylo Ren tries to get her to release, also holds the ship, I think, trying to release it or something. And then apparently this part of the movie was like, what the fudge? Rey apparently must have been getting mad, and like Rey suddenly, out of her hand, Rey just spewed force lightning, and that can now blow ships up. It literally blew that transport up. Yeah, it's that bad. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, what? What? First off, we all thought Chewie had died, but apparently Chewie actually was on another ship or something, and so he survived. But the music, this is one thing about the movie. Normally Star Wars movies and Star Wars shows have great music. This movie failed that. I thought it was gonna have a great soundtrack, because I thought that was gonna probably be like one of the only good things about the movie. No, the soundtrack actually sounded very out of place in much of this movie. So like when Chewie supposedly died, like they didn't really play any dark music. I mean, it was kind of just like, who cares? It's like, yeah, who cares? One of our one of the most beloved characters in all Star Wars just supposedly died. Anyways, so throughout the rest of the movie, they traveled to a few more planets and fought like 2 more times. We went to some planet near Endor, I think, and we found like a ton of the remains of the Death Star, second Death Star. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. In Return of the Jedi, the Death Star was literally eviscerated. It was eviscerated. And like huge chunks of the Death Star are still around. It's like honestly, it just makes no sense. And like, wouldn't like most of that debris burn up in the atmosphere or something? I suppose not, because J.J. Abrams doesn't really require too much logic. But anyways, so Kylo and Rey fight there, and Rey beats Kylo. I mean, like, who's surprised by that? Of course Rey's gonna beat Kylo. Then apparently Kylo freezes up a little bit because Leia dies, and he senses that. And then Rey heals Kylo because she had stabbed him with a lightsaber. She force heals Kylo, and then out of the blue came Han Solo, because Rey had just left, and Han Solo came back as a memory for Kylo Ren, and I actually thought that was kind of okay. So Kylo Ren, he was apparently too shaken by the death of his mom or something, and like too conflicted, and he actually turned back to the light side, and he threw away his lightsaber. I'm going to assume he did that as like an act of breaking free, but like that was a really stupid move, because like then he suddenly lost his weapon to fight with, and he would end up almost getting himself killed over that later, because so then Rey goes to Luke Skywalker's planet or island from The Last Jedi, and apparently, and she decides to burn the TIE fighter she came in, and she's just busy burning her stuff, and this makes no sense. She's so mad, and she wants to stay on this planet forever and be like Luke, apparently, and that just like honestly made no sense to me, because like what we saw pretty much, I can't. How do you do this? Oh, there we go. So like, she had just beaten Kylo Ren. There was like legit no reason for her to be that mad. And then so she then throws away her lightsaber into the fire, and then Luke comes as a Force ghost, catches it, and convinces her not to freaking go away or anything. And to stay and help her friends out. And he says that he was wrong to leave, which like, no, you were wrong. I mean, actually, no, Luke wasn't wrong. Rian Johnson was wrong, because he's the one who wrote this. He's the one who set this movie up to really be crap. Anyways. So apparently Leia had a lightsaber, and Luke gives that to Rey, because apparently Luke had the lightsaber on the planet all that time. So it was just, and then Luke used the Force to bring his X-Wing out of the water, which I actually thought, I originally actually started burst out laughing at that, because like it was like, oh man, this movie is so dumb, and I was just kind of laughing at that. But like the more I think about it, it's both good and bad, because one, I like how it how Luke was finally able to get his X-wing out of the water, or lift his X-wing up, because that's a nice callback to Fudge to Empire Strikes Back, when he couldn't do it. But then this also helps screw up the concept of Force Ghosts, because because now apparently Force Ghosts can interact with the real world. So that begs the question: why don't the Force Ghosts go and kill Palpatine themselves? They seem perfectly capable of it. I mean, like, you could this could allow for Anakin to go and kill Palpatine and fulfill the Chosen One prophecy, you know? But no, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna write something like that. So Rey's gotta kill it. Mary Sue's gotta kill Palpatine. That's the way it's gotta work, huh? Right? Am I right, folks? So then Rey goes to Exegol with the Resistance fleet, and they fight. They fight Palpatine's super Sith fleet. And this is the part. This is like the only part of the movie where I wasn't bored. Palpatine is actually doing some kind of interesting stuff. Like, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but like there were like thousands of hooded figures just like in the background, and like he was apparently calling out and being like, "We're the Sith are reborn today," and like I thought that was interesting and cool. But then he said like all the Sith live through me or something like that, and Ben Solo came out of nowhere, and Rey handed him through like force I don't know what it was, force teleporting or something. Rey handed him Luke's lightsaber, and he killed the Knights of Ren with it. Then Ben Solo, because that's I guess Kylo Ren isn't technically a thing anymore. Ben Solo came came to help Rey fight the Emperor, and the Emperor just used the Force to hold them or something, and he was like extracting the life force out of him so he could be fully revived. And stuff. It was kind of like, what? Because here's the thing, at the beginning of the movie he said he did die once, so this is kind of like the whole movie kind of contradicts that. The whole movie contradicts itself a lot, actually. So also a few weeks ago on this channel, I covered a leak that said that Palpatine in Return of the Jedi might have been a clone. And in the when the rebels are meeting to discuss Palpatine being back, they actually mention like the possibility of cloning, but Palpatine is pretty deformed, so you'd have to assume that was from his fall. I don't know. It's super confusing, and apparently they're saving the explanation for how Palpatine returned for the frickin' novelization of the movie. It's so stupid. Why? You think that I'm pretty sure that's something everybody would want to see explained in the movie. Like, who's gonna be reading this book? Like, probably like less than 1% of the people who watch this movie. It's honestly like, bruh. So, anyways, this movie is really bad. But I'm just not done yet. So then Palpatine throws Kylo off a cliff or something. Because he says like, just like I once fell, so will the last Skywalker. He throws Kylo off the cliff, and then him and Rey fight a little bit, and he knocks Rey out or something, and Rey apparently like calls on the other Jedi or something, and like you hear all the Jedi's voices or something. And this part pissed me off, because like then Anakin's voice comes on and he's like, "Restore the balance, Rey, as I once did," and that was just like, honestly, you just crapped on the Chosen One prophecy so badly. Because here's the thing, I'm pretty like the way they built up the Chosen One prophecy in Episode 1 and throughout the rest of the Star Wars prequels, it was like the balance would be achieved for all times. all times, or at least a very long time. Instead, in Disney's Star Wars, it's achieved for like what, 20 years? It's like, honestly, why? So these and also the Sith apparently were never really destroyed because, you know, Palpatine apparently came back somehow, which wasn't explained to us. So, you know, Anakin never fulfilled the Chosen One prophecy, and technically Rey is the Chosen One, I guess. I don't know. Which, Anakin, to me, is always the Chosen One. I don't care what Disney says. Star Wars ended at Episode 6. It ended on Return of the Jedi because it was so perfect. The ending was so perfect. It was so perfect to fit in with everything that had been written before it. Whereas this movie craps on everything. So then, Rey summons her lightsaber, or Luke's lightsaber, and then Leia's lightsabers, and holds them in an X position while Palpatine is shooting Force lightning at her. And she deflects it back into him, and Palpatine literally blows up. And this is so stupid, because it's like, why didn't Anakin, Anakin has been Force electrocuted multiple times by Count Dooku. It's like, why didn't he get blown up when he was electrocuted by Force lightning? It's like, why didn't Luke get blown up when he was electrocuted by Force lightning? Why didn't Mace Windu get blown up? It's like, this creates so many plot holes, and people who watch this movie first and then go and watch the other Star Wars movies are gonna look at these characters and go like, why isn't this like that? Or it's like, why are these characters so dumb? It's like, honestly, like, they don't explain Palpatine being more powerful than he ever was before, so. And I am not wasting my time reading that stupid novelization. This movie was horrible. It was worse than The Last Jedi for me. There were hardly any enjoyable moments in this movie. So let's cut to the end. So then, the Mary Sue and her comrades, they head back to their forest planet. I don't know what the planet is. Don't really care either. So then they are like all hugging each other, celebrating. Thank goodness. The only good thing about this movie is like Lando, C-3PO, R2, and Chewie survived, thankfully. Like, you killed my boy Lando. That ain't cool. So then here comes one of the parts about the movie that I hate the most, if not the part I hate the most. Two women kiss. Yes, we have LGBTQ nonsense in Star Wars. Okay, now I want to make something clear. I don't hate gays. I never have, and I don't hate gays, okay? I just don't. And I just don't want them in movies, okay? I want gays is a very political issue, and Disney are a pack of social justice warrior comrades. So this really pissed me off. My middle finger immediately went up in the theater for that. That was it. No, they had been trashing on lore the entire movie. They had been trashing on what was written before them. That was too much. No, that was just too freaking much. I couldn't handle anymore. So once again, I don't hate gays. I'd be friends with a gay any day. I just don't agree with what you're doing, and gay stuff is too political and should be kept out of Star Wars. So once again, I hope that's understood, because I know there's a lot of morons out there who would love to call me a homophobe or something. So anyways, for the final ending of this movie, this movie tries to get an epic cinematic shot, like what you see in Episode 4. Rey goes to Tatooine and buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers. then some stranger asks her who she is, and she's like, "I'm Rey," and then and then the stranger is like, "Rey who?" And then Rey looks out into the distance and she sees Luke and Leia's Force ghost, and she looks back and she's like, "Rey Skywalker." And that part is so maddening because Rey was originally a Palpatine and now she's taking up the name Skywalker. Oh boy, it's like you cannot just identify as whatever you want. It does not work this way. That movie was horrendous. It was horrendously bad. Cause like, also, by the way, Rey is not worthy to be a Skywalker. No, she is not worthy at all to be a Skywalker. So, you know, I do not like this movie. I do not like it at all. This movie is the worst Star Wars movie ever. Star Wars ended on Return of the Jedi. That's where it ended. That is where because the 6 original movies tell the greatest character story in cinematic history. Anakin's story of being the chosen one. Anakin's story of being a slave on Tatooine, to being a slave to his emotions under a Jedi, to being a slave to Palpatine, and then finally being set free by his son, is the greatest story ever in cinematic history. Not to mention the whole chosen one prophecy made it all a lot more special when he killed Palpatine, because it was like, oh hey, he's breaking free of his chains and finally fulfilling the chosen one prophecy while breaking free of his chains. He's destroying the Sith and bringing balance to the Force, and that's where Star Wars ended. Return of the Jedi featured the best ending ever, seeing a redeemed Anakin and his Force ghost. That was so great. It's beautiful. That's where Star Wars ended for me. It's where Star Wars ended in actuality, because Disney Star Wars is not canon. Okay, this is too junk to be canon. So, anyways. I hope you all, this is actually an unedited video, not an official review. I'd have to, so, you know, I just had a lot to say. It's kind of a rant, and if you want me to do an official review on this movie, then please say so in the comments. I'll probably make a few more videos about how bad this movie is and like what it screws up and stuff. So my official rating for this movie is 2 out of 10. It is that bad. And also, I actually reviewed the movie on Rotten Tomatoes. I left a kind of lengthy review. I wanted to say more though, but I just didn't think I should fit it in a review like that. I figured a video like this would be best for that. And I gave it half a star. This movie sucked, and I hated it, and it ruined Star Wars. So that's why it's just best to consider this, like, to say this is not a part of Star Wars, that this is officially non-canon. Star Wars ended on Return of the Jedi. Anyways, that's it from me. I hope you all enjoyed. Please have a great day, and may the Force be with you.